else? There's more. You really want to hear it? Yes. You're. Cole whispered the third line from the letter. Ah, stop. How could you? You're so bad. Serena covered her face, mortified. Even in the faint light, you could see her neck had turned bright red. Her soft, playful protests made Cole's heart pound. This girl was going to be the death of him. Dating was a complicated process, an agonizing mix of wanting the time together to last forever, yet feeling every second tick by. Serena's eyes were filled with the reflection of the person in front of her. She wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come. All she could do was hide her burning face in her hands. Fortunately, the nearest lamppost was far away, and the trees blocked most of the light, preventing passing strollers from getting too clear a look at them. A couple on a nearby bench had completely forgotten they were on a date. The guy said, "Wow, that's impressive. You can actually do that." The girl replied, "I know, right? They have no consideration for other people's feelings. Babe, can you rub my feet for me?" The guy hesitated. "Huh, rub your feet." He glanced down at the grimy feet in her sandals and sighed internally. "How am I supposed to do that? Am I going to get athlete's foot?" The girl's expression turned suspicious. "You don't want to?" "No, of course I want to. Come on." The guy stammered. A moment later, he said, "Maybe we could just hold hands. You're disgusted by me." "No, I'm not. We're breaking up." "Wait, I'm really not." "Hey, don't go." "I'm sorry. I can keep doing it." "Break up." The bench emptied as if cursed. It had seen several different couples in just the last hour. Neither Cole nor Serena remembered when she had burrowed into his arms. They had also forgotten when the breeze from the lake had turned cool. All they knew was the warmth they felt inside. "Are you going home for fall break?" Serena asked, looking up at Cole's chin. "Probably not. I've got something important to take care of." Cole's tea shop had to open during the break. The business license would be ready, so he could start operating. The health permit would come a few days later. He was going to be swamped. Serena didn't ask what was so important. Instead, she shared her own plans. "Oh, I'm going to my grandpa's. I want to spend more time with him." "Yeah, old folks definitely miss their granddaughters. Will you miss her?" Serena peeked at Cole before quickly burying her face in his chest, blushing again at her own forwardness. "If a certain someone misses me, then I'll definitely miss her. I'll miss her double," Cole said with a sly grin. Serena pressed her face against his chest, her voice muffled. "She'll definitely miss you. You're so mean, always teasing her." "I like teasing her, but I'll take care of her, too. Double." Holding Serena's soft, pliant body, inhaling her fresh, milky scent, Cole's thoughts began to drift. A little voice in his head was screaming again. "Cole, don't you dare fall for this again. You'll just get yourself hurt." "Will I?" Cole stroked Serena's smooth ponytail, twirling the ends around his finger. He remembered his own pathetic state back then, all his foolish, idiotic actions. His so-called sincerity and love had ended up as a joke to everyone else. She had been showing off her new boyfriend on social media while he was left alone, licking his wounds night after night in a dark corner. The greatest illusion in life is believing yourself to be the devoted one. What you think is only what you think. It has no real effect on anyone else. Caught between desire and despair, the seasoned survivor in him would never choose despair again. No matter what, he had to be the one in control. "I have to stick to the plan. Keep her guessing," Cole thought, once again pushing down the strings of his heart. Back on campus, Cole walked Serena to her dorm. When Serena ran out onto her balcony to look down, he was already gone. She stomped her foot. He never waits for me." Inside her dorm room, she mumbled a quick greeting to Zoe and rushed off to take a shower, for reasons only she understood. When she came out, Zoe was waiting by her bed. "Were you out with that guy?" she asked in a low voice. "Yeah, you like him that much?" I do. "Aren't you guys moving a little fast? Do you even know him?" Zoe found it incredible. The semester had just started. Serena tilted her head and thought for a moment. "I know him. They had gone to middle school together." How could she not know him? She knew everything he'd ever done. He used to get great grades, top 10 his year, but his performance had slipped in high school. Serena thought that was normal. Boys were always a bit more playful. As long as he wasn't getting into real trouble, it was fine, and she was certain Cole wasn't. Then she remembered how shy he used to be. Now, he was like a different person, but she wasn't going to share these thoughts. She had known Zoe for only a fraction of the time she had known Cole. She didn't feel the need to explain herself to an outsider. If the term love brain had been popular then, Zoe would have definitely used it to describe her friend. Serena usually had such a cool, aloof demeanor, yet here she was completely smitten with a guy. "You should still be careful," Zoe advised. "At least make sure he's a good person." "I will." Serena appreciated her roommate's concern. Zoe sighed. She knew the sweet, naive girl hadn't really heard a word she said. She thought to herself, once she meets more outstanding guys, she'll realize how rash she's being. The fulfilling days passed quickly. Cole attended classes during the day, and when he was free, he handled the paperwork for the tea shop. On weekends, he procured supplies. If you were willing to spend money, delivery was always efficient. In the evenings, when he had time, he'd take Serena out to eat and to eat. However, Cole held himself back from taking things any further. That would signify a new stage in their relationship. This restraint made Serena feel a great sense of security. In fact, she became bolder. Whether they were on the grass or on a bench, she would immediately curl up in his arms, treating his embrace like a kangaroo's pouch. By the end of September, the newly renovated shop had been aired out. The sign for the Tea Alchemist was hung above the door. The business license had arrived. The boba machines, coffee maker, freezers, and all the miscellaneous items were in place. Everything was ready. On Sunday, the 26th, Serena's mother picked her up. She wouldn't be back until after fall break. The night before she left, she planted a few kisses on Cole's cheek, letting him know she was going to visit family. On the afternoon of the 28th, Cole decided to ask Luna to help him put up some vinyl lettering on the shop's walls. It would add to the atmosphere. He also needed to teach her the secret recipes for the drinks. He also had to post a hiring notice on the door to find 2 employees who could work consecutive shifts. He and Luna couldn't handle it all themselves, not with their class schedules. He sent Luna a message on Facebook Messenger, and she replied almost instantly. "Okay, I'll come find you after dinner. Come eat with me." Okay. When Cole saw Luna, she was wearing a gray, long-sleeved t-shirt. It was a bit baggy, in a style that was several years out of date, but her complexion was much healthier than before. They walked to Hillside Avenue. Knowing she was from rural West Virginia, he took her to a Sichuan restaurant. "This is too expensive. We could just get a bowl of noodles," Luna said, embarrassed. This looked like it would cost a lot of money. "Trust me, this is the place," Cole said, giving her no room to argue as he led her inside. At first, Luna was very reserved, but Cole kept putting food on her plate and chatting with her, and she gradually relaxed. It turned out Luna could handle spicy food very well. The heat of Sichuan cuisine was nothing to her. Their tastes were perfectly aligned. After dinner, Cole took Luna to buy some wall decals and adhesive. It was Luna's first time in the tea shop, and her eyes were full of curiosity. The decor was bright, with soft track lighting, and it had a storage room and a bathroom. 400 square feet didn't sound like much, but for a tea shop, it was spacious. A long counter with high stools was set up against the floor-to-ceiling windows facing the street. Inside, there were 5 small wooden tables with comfortable chairs. They designed the lettering for the slogans first, then cut them out to stick on the wall. When they started, Luna's work was far more delicate than Cole's. Her handwriting was beautiful, and she cut with meticulous care. So, Cole decided she would be in charge of writing, and he would be in charge of sticking them up. A day fueled by boba. "Have you had your tea today?" A cup of tea in a quiet moment, enjoying the good times. Outside, the street was bustling with people, and occasionally, someone would peer inside. A group of students passing by stopped. "This shop is bigger than the one over there, and you can sit down. I wonder if it's expensive." One of the girls shouted inside. "Hey, when are you opening? Will there be any discounts?" "Probably the 1st or 2nd of the month." Cole called back with a smile. "There will definitely be discounts. Discounts you'll be very happy with. I'll post a notice beforehand. You'll see it when you walk by." He planned to use steep discounts on the first day to attract a crowd. He wrote out a hiring notice on a piece of paper, looking for 2 employees for now, and taped it to the inside of the glass door. He thought he wouldn't get any takers until at least the next day, but just a few minutes later, someone walked in to ask. It was a short girl with glasses, a sophomore from Eastwood Tech's optics department named Sunny. She had been looking for a part-time job since the semester started, but hadn't found anything suitable. She was wary of labor agencies, fearing she'd get scammed. The owners of older shops were often sharks, and students rarely got a fair shake. If you were unlucky, you might not even get paid. As a single girl, she was just wandering around tonight and happened to see if the Tea Alchemist was hiring. She couldn't believe her luck. When she heard the pay was $10 an hour plus a bonus for perfect attendance, she practically grabbed Cole and begged him to hire her on spot. In 2010, in a city like Rockford, restaurant wages were around minimum wage. But few shops were honest. Getting paid less was common. The hours Cole offered weren't long, either 2 shifts, 10 to 4 and 3 to 9, with 1 day off a week. She wouldn't miss this opportunity for anything. She didn't even care that the boss was a freshman. As long as he paid, that's all that mattered. Seeing Sunny's cheerful personality and strong desire to work, Cole was happy to hire her. Sunny was proactive and immediately started helping Luna cut out the letters, starting her job right then and there. Since he didn't have an employment contract ready, Cole told her he'd get it sorted out in a couple of days. Sunny readily agreed. She had a good feeling about her freshman boss. He was transparent about everything. After working for a bit, she suddenly remembered her best friend and quickly pulled out her phone. "Megan, get over to Hillside Avenue right now. The old lamb soup noodle shop. You know where that is? Hurry." But just as she finished speaking, two more girls walked in. "Excuse me, are you hiring?" Sunny's face fell. Already? She had to reluctantly tell her friend not to come over. The new applicant was a quiet, gentle-looking girl, a sophomore from Eastwood University's College of Arts and Sciences, named Megan. After a brief interview, her eyes lit up when she heard the pay. And just like that, there were 3 girls cutting out letters. Cole had to take the hiring sign down again. They worked until 9 that night. Cole told his 2 new employees that training would start the next day. As for Luna, his plan was simple. If she wanted to manage the place, she could be the store manager. If not, she could be in charge of the finances. He felt a responsibility to take care of her. From the moment he gave her money and bought her a phone, Luna had lost her eligibility for financial aid. The university might only look at the official paperwork, but how could you apply for aid when you had a brand new smartphone? What would the students still using old flip phones think? Luna had never considered any of this. She didn't understand these things. Without Cole, she might have gotten help from her advisor or the student union to apply for aid. But now, everything was different. She was on a path she never would have been on otherwise. And perhaps, without Cole, on the night she lost her living expenses, she might have walked down a much sadder path. Self-esteem is a fragile thing. Most people can endure blows to it, but for some sensitive souls, it is more precious than life itself. The next day at training, Cole discovered that Luna was exceptionally smart and a quick learner. He demonstrated how to mix a drink once, and she memorized it completely. The process for making fresh ground coffee, she got it in one go. This made things incredibly easy for Cole, and he felt a growing affection for her. Winnie was the next quickest learner. Megan was a bit slower, possibly due to her recent breakup. Cole didn't mind. Training always meant wasting some materials. Not everyone could be a Luna. After 2 days of training, the results were impressive. Luna was already good enough to be a trainer herself. They were all set for the grand opening. On the evening of the 30th, Cole treated the 3 girls to dinner and gave Sunny and Megan a $200 advance on their salary. He made it clear it was a one-time thing, a gesture of goodwill since they hadn't signed contracts yet. Cole could see that Megan was struggling financially, so he decided to be generous. They were all students. He wasn't worried about them running off. The gesture lifted Megan's spirits, and a smile returned to her face. Sunny didn't really need the money, but she felt her boss's gesture was a great way to win people over. With the holiday approaching, Cole called his sister, Rose, to let her know he wouldn't be coming home. He said he had a part-time job and would be staying on campus. Rose was understanding. He had only been at college for a month, not a very long time. It was a good thing for her brother to get some work experience. Jasmine had to go home to accompany her mother to a checkup. She made a point to find Cole and warn him to be careful with part-time jobs. It was better not to work at all than to get scammed. Cole was touched by her concern and, pointing to his cheek, demanded a farewell kiss. On the first day of fall break, at 10 in the morning, a tea shop called the Tea Alchemist on Hillside Avenue opened for business. On opening day, everything except coffee was 50% off. In an era when the average cup of boba tea cost between $3 and $5, this was an incredible deal. The signature drink was the Taro Boba, with a regular price of $2. $50 for a medium and $3. $50 for a large. How business would be, they were about to find out. The 3 girls were all nervous. Cole, however, wasn't worried at all. In business, if you build it, they will come. In a location like this, there was nothing to worry about. He didn't even need to pay people to stand in line to create buzz. Sure enough, after just a few minutes, the first customer stopped. A group of 5 girls. At 50% off, the signature drink was just over $1. It was an easy decision. Luna and Megan prepared the drinks, while Sunny handled the cup sealing machine, working with brisk efficiency. Sunny was more outgoing and chatted casually with the girls, inviting them to sit down while they waited. After the drinks were ready, one of the girls took a sip and her face lit up with surprise. This is delicious. It's way better than the bubble tea at that other place. The other girls eagerly tried theirs. This is really good. The taro and milk flavors are blended perfectly. Cole listened and smiled to himself. Of course it's good. They use water. I use real milk. The 5 girls sat at the long counter by the window, playing on their phones. This was exactly what Cole wanted, free advertising. Soon, More and more customers arrived. The shop filled up, and a line formed outside. All four of them were so busy they didn't have a moment to rest. It wasn't until after 2 in the afternoon that the rush subsided. Cole quickly bought lunch for the 3 girls and had them eat in shifts. During the evening peak, another huge wave of customers descended. It lasted until 9:30 at night. Even Cole was exhausted. After closing, Cole had Luna buy a lavish late-night meal to celebrate their successful opening. Sunny and Megan took their food back to their dorms. Luna stayed behind to help Cole tally the day's earnings. They had sold a total of 1,032 cups. The signature Taro Boba alone accounted for over 500 cups. Except for coffee, which sold poorly, everything else did well. Luna's mouth hung open in amazement. Cole, however, was calm. He knew this was the effect of the discount. Once prices returned to normal, it would be expected for the number of cups to be cut in half, but revenue would likely increase. The gross income for the day was $2,386. Net profit would have to wait until the end of the month when they could tally it with the supply invoices. Why can't we tell customers there's a bathroom in the back? Luna finally couldn't hold back her question. Cole looked up at her and smiled. We served 1,032 customers today, right? Right, Luna replied, a look of confusion on her small face. You want the truth? Cole asked with a mischievous glint in his eye. When Luna met his smiling gaze, her face flushed slightly, and she quickly looked down. I kind of want to know. She felt a little embarrassed. Was she being dense? You asked for it, Cole chuckled. Out of 1,032 customers, it's normal to assume 400 of them might want to use the restroom, right? Luna thought for a moment and nodded. That's normal. 400 people using one toilet. Let's say 100 of them have to. Well, you can imagine. Cole winked at her. At first, Luna didn't get it. Then, she thought about the public restrooms at school and felt a wave of nausea. She covered her mouth and waved her hand. I get it. Don't say it. That bathroom is for you guys. Girls always need it more, Cole said as he counted the cash. This had been his plan from the beginning. There were no public restrooms nearby, unless you ran back to campus. Watching Cole's focused expression as he counted the money, a soft light flickered in Luna's eyes. He's so thoughtful, so considerate. Just then, Cole suddenly scratched his head. Hey, where was I? He pushed a pile of cash toward Luna. You count. There were so many $1 bills, quarters, dimes, and nickels. For someone used to online payments, counting it all was a headache. Luna pursed her lips in a small smile and took over the task. The shop was quiet, filled only with the sound of Luna's soft murmuring as she counted and the clicking of the calculator. Cole went to the counter and made a kiwi smoothie. He stuck a straw in it and placed it next to his little accountant. Then he remembered that if he didn't prompt her, she would assume it wasn't for her. He picked it up and held the straw to her lips. You worked hard. Have a sip. Luna was mortified, a blush creeping up from below her earlobes. She bit her lip, feeling incredibly shy, and instinctively started to refuse. But then she remembered that day on the train, when he had been just as bossy and yet so caring, feeding her milk. A warm, familiar feeling bloomed in her chest. Not daring to look at him, she blushed and took a small sip from the straw. Then she buried her head back in her work. Under the lights, her long, fair neck glowed with a captivating rosy hue. Finding her shy expression amusing, Cole deliberately teased her. From now on, you're in charge of all our money. Her little face instantly turned beet red like a ripe cherry. She ducked her head lower, pretending to be intensely focused on the coins, as if she hadn't heard him. That bashful charm made Cole's heart itch a little. He glanced at her. If only. Then it would be perfect. He was a bit fixated on that one point, almost to an obsessive degree. It was a shame. Who could understand the pursuit of natural perfection? After the money was counted and reconciled with the register, Cole walked Luna back to her dorm. When Luna got up to her 6th-floor window and looked down, the figure was already dozens of yards away. She watched him, her thoughts drifting, following him as he walked further and further away, until he was obscured by a building. Only then did she go inside. Only Brianna was in the dorm room. Her family was in New England, too far to go home for the short break. How was your first day at work? So busy. So many customers. Luna had told Brianna she got a job, but not that it was at Cole's shop. Be careful. I hear a lot of shop owners screw over student workers, docking their pay or not paying them at all. Don't worry. This shop won't do that. What shop is it that you're so sure? It's a friend's shop. A friend's shop? Brianna looked at Luna curiously. What friend? You have friends here? It's the one you've met, Luna said after a moment's hesitation. The one I've met? Oh my God. You mean him? He opened a shop? Brianna was genuinely shocked it was Cole. Yeah, that's why I felt safe working there. So how much is he paying you? He's not just giving you a few $100, is he? 1,500 a month. What? How much did you say? 1,500. For real? For real? Oh my God. Brianna's eyes widened, and she threw herself at Luna, hugging her tightly. Bestie, you have to help me out. Ask your man to hire me too. Please? I'm begging you. The term, your man, made Luna's heart tremble, instantly recalling his words. From now on, you're in charge of all our money. She felt a shy urge to correct Brianna, but found she couldn't open her mouth. So she said nothing. She felt conflicted about Brianna's request. The shop was already fully staffed. How could she fit someone else in? Come on, bestie, help me out. Tomorrow, just mention it to your man. If you ask, he'll say yes 100%. Trust me, my judgment is impeccable. Brianna held on tight, refusing to let go until she got what she wanted. Luna had a soft heart and couldn't resist her pleading. Besides, Brianna had been very kind to her. She agreed to mention it the next day, but warned her that if it didn't work out, she couldn't be blamed. Brianna grinned from ear to ear. She knew it was a 200% done deal. The next day, the Tea Alchemist continued its 50% off sale. The crowd was even bigger than the day before. A huge, messy line snaked out the door, and the entrance was a chaotic mob. Every table inside was full, with people standing and sitting wherever they could. Most customers opted for the signature taro boba, but many also tried other flavors, especially those who were better off or were willing to go the extra mile for their girlfriends. Coffee remained a niche product, which was normal for the time, especially since it wasn't discounted and the original price was much higher. They sold a dozen cappuccinos and only a few vanilla lattes. Drinks like green grape coconut, mango pomelo sago, and caramel pudding were also popular. Luna's memory was excellent. She knew where every ingredient was, which made her the perfect person to direct the drink-making process, boosting efficiency. Around 2:30 in the afternoon, when things finally started to calm down, Luna tugged on Cole's sleeve, her eyes clearly saying, I have something to tell you. Cole led her outside the shop. What's up? It's my roommate. Luna stammered, telling him about Brianna's request. Sure, tell her come in tomorrow. Are you silly? You could have just messaged me. It's no big deal. Cole agreed so quickly that Luna was taken aback. She pursed her lips and shifted her weight shyly. I just thought it would be better to tell you in person. It was just as Brianna had predicted. He had agreed 100% without a moment's hesitation. A wave of warmth and a flutter of joy spread through Luna's heart. All right, I'm going to go buy something. You head back inside. Cole needed to take this opportunity to buy a couple of fire extinguishers. Okay, Luna agreed. She walked back with a light step, but after a few paces, she turned to look back. Cole was standing by the road, waiting to hail a cab. She watched him for a few more moments before going back into the shop. An hour later, Cole returned with 2 fire extinguishers and placed them in a corner of the shop. They weren't just for fire prevention. Mr. Huang, the contractor, had been reliable, and the electrician had been professional, so the risk of a fire was low. But they were a necessary precaution to pass any potential fire inspections. The day was busy until 9 at night, when the shop finally quieted down. A quick tally showed that the day's revenue was $800 higher than the previous day. Cole was beaming. Tomorrow, the discount would be reduced to 20% off. He was curious to see how much the customer volume would drop and what the new ratio of traffic to revenue would be. He took the cash drawer out, once again entrusting the task of counting the money to Luna. She was the most meticulous. Watching her serious little face, Cole made a plan to buy her an e-scooter. Once fall break was over, she'd have classes, and walking back and forth would be too tiring. As usual, he walked Luna back to her dorm. When he got back to his own room, he found his 3 roommates were actually there. They hadn't gone home for the holiday either, preferring to sleep all day and stay up all night. It was rare to see them on a night like this. Preston and Javier looked pale and unwell. Cole, feeling charitable, asked, What's wrong with you guys? You look like you just got dumped. The 2 of them lay listlessly on their beds, not saying a word. Cole leaned closer to Javier. Whoa, the kid's face was as white as a sheet. Did you guys go crawling through some back alley tiger dens? $50 or 100? As if a mere tiger den could do this to us. Preston sighed heavily. Not even a succubus could drain us this badly. Across the room, Frank was making faces. Cole turned to him. What happened? These 2. They got taken by a couple of bar shills, Frank said, his voice full of sympathy, but the gleeful dance of his eyebrows revealed a deep sense of schadenfreude. He had lost a few $100 in a tea ceremony scam last time. Now, finally, he was not alone in his misery. You guys still have your pants on? What kind of unprofessional shills were they? Cole joked. Preston and Javier. Frank jumped in to answer. It was those 2 girls they were handing out flyers for. Holy crap. Cole was stunned. That wasn't just a scam. That was skinning them alive. After they'd bought them meals and handed out flyers for days, the girls still dragged them to a clip joint to finish them off. That was truly pathetic. Cole looked over at Preston, who lay on his bed like a man on his deathbed, his eyes filled with melancholy. He was probably reminiscing about the good old days of handing out flyers. While some were on their deathbeds, others were resurrected. Frank was practically bouncing off the walls, reborn, his earlier shame completely avenged. The next morning, when Cole woke up at 7, the other 3 were still fast asleep. He went to the shop, where the technicians from the security company had already arrived. Cole was having a surveillance system and burglar alarm installed. It was another expense, but a necessary one. You never knew when you might need it. Just as the security team finished, a light rain began to fall, gradually turning into a steady downpour, bringing a chill to the air. Luna arrived with Brianna, both huddled under a small umbrella. To Cole's displeasure, Brianna was a bit robust and took up more umbrella space, leaving Luna's shoulders soaked. Brianna could clearly feel the boss/brother-in-law shooting daggers at her and was completely baffled. What did I do? Cole ran to a nearby store, bought a hairdryer, and pulled Luna over to the bathroom area to dry her off. She was a star player. He couldn't have her getting sick. Luna stood there obediently, her eyes darting from Cole's face to his hands as he patiently rolled up her sleeve to dry it. She listened to him fussing. If you don't have an umbrella, you should have just called me to bring you one. The weather in Rockford is weird. You can easily catch a cold if you get wet. Her eyes began to sparkle, and the sparkles slowly turned into a watery mist. As her lips trembled, the mist gathered into tears and fell. Fearing it wasn't right, she quickly wiped the wet tracks from her face while he was bent over, drying the cuff of her pants. In the work area, Sunny peeked toward the back of the shop. Although she couldn't see around the corner, she could imagine the tender scene. Our boss is really a caring person, she whispered. Luna is so lucky, Megan said wistfully. Both of them could sense that the boss treated Luna differently. Tell me about it. She got a little wet, and he almost glared a hole through me, Brianna lamented, looking down at her own soaked shoulder. With Brianna now on the team, Cole didn't need to hang around the work area anymore. He would occasionally join the line to eavesdrop on what the customers were saying. Sometimes he would sit at a table and pretend to be a customer. Other times, he would go check out the competition. The other 2 tea shops were nearly empty. Their business looked bleak. While this made Cole happy, it also put him on high alert. That afternoon, as he was sitting in the shop, a group of 7 or 8 students arrived at the door. This place is new. I've had the caramel latte here twice, and it's almost as good as the ones I've had in New York, a handsome, lanky guy said. Really? We should try it. A girl replied in a familiar, airy, affected voice. Cole glanced over and was surprised to see it was Cora. Besides Cora, another girl in the group caught his eye. Her face was cute enough, but her figure was what really drew attention. Full and curvy, showcased in a white floral sundress that generously revealed the deep valley of her chest. When Cole's gaze settled on her face, a jolt of surprise went through him. It was Julia, the one who had expertly kept him on the hook back in high school. She was a freshman too, over at Eastwood State. Memories of their past flickered through his mind, but they were just that, fleeting images that failed to stir any emotion. He wasn't that guy anymore, and in this timeline, none of it had even happened. Besides, spending time with Jasmine and Serena had recalibrated his standards to a global peak. Still, Cole's philosophy was simple. If it's free to look, you're making a profit. So he took a few more glances at her impressive cleavage. A reasonably handsome guy hovered by Julia's side, doting on her, gently dabbing a few stray raindrops from her shoulder with a tissue. He was the picture of attentiveness. Cole saw a reflection of his former self in the guy and felt a pang of sympathy. He wondered what his contact name was in Julia's phone. Welcome to the Tea Alchemist. What can we get for you? The 3 girls behind the counter chirped in unison, Brianna's voice booming like a thunderclap. The group of 8 walked in, looking around curiously. They took over the long table by the floor-to-ceiling window and one of the adjacent round tables. Cora, who had been scrutinizing the menu board, finally looked toward the counter and saw Cole. Her face instantly frosted over, and she turned her head away with a haughty sniff. Julia, however, didn't even spare him a glance. She settled into a chair at the round table closest to Cole, elegantly crossing her legs. The guy sat down next to her, leaning in eagerly. What are you thinking, Julia? See, anything you like. Julia was busy tapping away on her Samsung phone. Whatever, she said, her voice dismissive. The guy scanned the menu, his eyes landing on the pricier options. How about a strawberry macchiato? Too sweet. Vanilla latte? Too bitter. Okay, then the banana hazelnut smoothie. I bet you'd like that. I'm kind of sick of bananas. Well, the guy glanced nervously at her phone, as if wanting to say something but stopping himself. He turned his attention back to the menu, determined to find the perfect drink for his goddess. Judging by his clothes, a sharp, dark button-down, and slacks from Express, his family probably had some money. Perhaps sensing Cole's gaze, the guy looked over. He sized Cole up from head to toe, his expression shifting to one of dismissive arrogance. Cole offered him a smile dripping with mock solemnity, then let his eyes drift back to the girls, taking in the view. A little eye candy was good for the soul. For behind the counter, Luna was wiping down a cocktail shaker, her eyes darting toward Cole. It wasn't hard to follow his line of sight. She pursed her lips, a strange, unhappy knot forming in her stomach. So that's what he likes. She glanced down at her own chest, then back at Cole, her pearl-like eyes full of a quiet resentment. I'll have a hazelnut latte, Cora announced, pointing at the menu. The handsome guy next to her immediately chimed in. Make that too. I love those. A small smile played on Cora's lips. Her gaze swept across the workspace and landed on Luna. She was surprised. She works here? No wonder Cole's hanging around. But wait, didn't Cole already have a girlfriend? Was he trying to play them both? That has to be it. What a scumbag. A total player. She slanted a glance at the guy beside her, feeling a rush of satisfaction. At least he was devoted. Still, she made a mental note to test her other prospects, Liam, Marcus, and Daniel, to see if they were just as loyal. She watched Cole for a moment longer. He wasn't looking at the counter. Instead, he was chewing on a straw, his eyes shamelessly drifting over her and her friends, lingering on their legs and chests, not even trying to hide it from the girl working behind the counter. That was weird. Was he really just here for a drink and not for the girl? Or maybe they broke up. Highly likely. A girl that beautiful would never stay hung up on a guy like him for long. A wave of satisfaction washed over her, and she let out a small, triumphant laugh. Cole, you're staring so hard, she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Does that mean you're treating us to a round of drinks? Huh. Cole looked momentarily flustered, caught in the act. He waved his hands dismissively. I didn't realize looking came with a fee. I don't have the money to treat you, so I'll stop looking. What? Cora cursed him silently. Shameless. Julia shot him a look of pure disgust. The guys in their group scowled. How dare he stare at their goddesses? The guy in the Express shirt, whose name was Simon, was already on edge about Julia's revealing top. Now that someone was openly gawking, he felt a surge of acidic anger. If you're broke, stop fronting, he sneered. What good does looking do you? Go find a better part-time job so you can actually afford something. Cole's clothes were generic, and he wasn't wearing his watch. He looked like any other average student. He knew he was being looked down on, but he didn't care. He deliberately glanced at Julia's cleavage again. You're looking too. Did you pay? How many drinks can you even afford to buy? Huh. Simon let out a bitter laugh, fuming. For a girl, of course you pay. I mean, you provide. I'll buy her whatever she wants, no matter how many. TCH. Talk is cheap, Cole shot back, his face a mask of disdain as he stole another look. She'll drink 1 cup, max. You'll buy 1 cup. Who are you trying to impress? You. Simon was seething. Julia finally looked up from her phone, her gaze cold and arrogant. Then buy me a drink, she said to Cole. You've had your look, right? Cole wasn't falling for that trap. He turned the tables, smirking at Simon. See? We're the same. You buy 1, and I'll buy 1. Then I can look all I want, right? He chuckled to himself. Kids this age were so predictable. Cora and the other 2 girls chimed in, ganging up on him. You looked at us too. Buy us a drink. They seemed to think they were cornering him, completely forgetting their male companions were even there. Cole wasn't surprised. They were all masters at playing the field. They didn't care about the feelings of one guy in their orbit. A little pouting and a fake tantrum later, and they'd have them wrapped around their fingers again. He glanced at the 4 sullen faces of the guys and threw up his hands in mock defeat. Hey, I didn't say it, they did. Fine, I'll buy you each 1 drink. It's not that much money, anyway. He waved his hand magnanimously. Ladies, order whatever you want. I can afford 1 round. But in that case, I'm going to get my money's worth. With that, he let his gaze roam freely. Simon and the other 3 guys glared at him, looking like they were ready to throw a punch. But, as Cole had pointed out, the girls had started it, as shameless as he was being. And Cole, at a solid 6 feet, looked like he could handle himself, which dampened their courage. Instead, they resorted to taunts. Stop pretending. You'll be eating ramen for a week. You think we're actually paying attention to you? What a loser. So childish. This is hilarious. Like we care about 1 drink from you? My daily food budget is more than you make in a week. Cora, Julia, and the other girl smirked, watching the guys bicker with detached amusement. They found the whole thing incredibly entertaining. Smack! Cole slammed his hand on the table as if he'd had enough. He pointed a thumb toward the three girls working behind the counter. Fine, he roared at the four guys. Here's the deal. For every drink you buy for these four, I'll buy one for my three girls here. I'm calling your bluff. He leaned forward, his eyes glinting. So are you in or not? If you're scared, then get out of my way, and I'll look as much as I damn well please. A good salesman is always a good actor. Cole's expression was a perfect blend. 3 parts arrogance, 3 parts roguishness, 3 parts raw nerve. The last part was pure mockery. He was betting they didn't have the guts. The four guys faltered, exchanging uncertain glances. Cora theatrically covered her chest, a look of disgust on her face as if to shield her modest assets from his view. She had a nice figure and admittedly great legs, but she was a B-cup at best, always padded to look like more. Julia shot a look at Simon. I really can't stand guys who are all talk, she said coolly. Simon, if you can, why don't you teach him a lesson and drain his wallet? As the guys hesitated, Cole let out a perfectly timed scoff and let his eyes wander over the girls again, completely unrestrained. That was the last straw. Fine, Simon said with a smirk. I hope you don't cry about it later. Yeah, we'll see who's crying, Cole shot back, channeling the swagger of an overconfident teenager. The guy next to Cora, Ryan, jutted out his chin. Put your money on the table. We'll all put our cash on the counter. Don't want you bailing when it's time to pay up. Bring on. Cole sneered, fully committed to his role. And you better not be faking it either. You're all dressed up, but who knows if you've got more than $5 in those fancy wallets of yours. Being called broke in front of their goddesses was an insult they couldn't bear. One by one, they started pulling out their wallets, laying them on the table. Simon sneered at Cole. Where's your money? Put it up. Cole reached into his pocket, pulled out his own wallet, and with a show of gritted teeth reluctance, slapped all of his cash, a thick wad of 20s, onto the counter. All in, he declared dramatically. $150. If you can't match it, you give me all 4 of your numbers. Asking for their numbers? That was crossing a line. The 4 guys were furious. Deal. We'll match it, but you have to get out of here right now, and you can't come back for your drinks for a full hour. Got it. Fine. What do I care? Go ahead, clean me out. But if you can't, I'm getting those numbers. Cole was playing the part of a desperate gambler, betting his entire wallet for a shot at glory in front of the girls, convinced their guns were empty. Cora and Julia exchanged bewildered looks. Was this guy an idiot? For $250, they'd have just given him their numbers directly. But saying that out loud would tarnish their goddess-like mystique. Cora laughed coldly to herself. You rejected my friend request the other day, and now you're trying this? Pathetic. She was more certain than ever that he'd been dumped. Only a guy reeling from a breakup would act this crazy. Just pay him and make him leave, she muttered. He's annoying to look at. Besides, they could take the drinks back to their dorms and share them with friends. It wouldn't be a waste. The 4 guys pooled their cash. One had $60, another $80. Altogether, it only came to $220. That was all the cash they had on them. The girls suddenly found the ceiling fascinating, their expressions screaming, "Don't look at me. I'll give him my number if I have to. It's no big deal." Cole's face broke into a triumphant grin, as if victory was at hand. Simon, clenching his jaw, reached for his belt and discreetly pulled 2 folded $20 bills and a 10 from a hidden seam. He slapped the $50 on the counter, his face a mask of cold, victorious pride. There, now you can get lost. And make sure you wait the full hour. Don't be a sore loser. Cole's smile vanished. His eyes darted between them, a storm of indignation, humiliation, and heartache brewing in his gaze. Finally, he gave him a single, bitter thumbs up. Fine, you win. You're the big shots. With a look of utter shame and loneliness, he turned and stormed out of the shop. Simon let out a pained laugh, trying to ignore the hole burning in his own wallet. What a freak. Had to act tough, and for what? He's going to drown in coffee. What an idiot, another guy chimed in. At least we can share these with people. He just gonna have to chug one and toss the rest. Huh, I'm dying. Cora felt a wave of pure bliss, a sense of superiority washing over her. The sting of his earlier rejection was completely gone, replaced by sweet, satisfying victory. In the work area, when he asked, "Hi, will that be all macchiatos or lattes?" Half and half, Julia said. Cora and the other 2 girls agreed. Coffee was classier than milk tea. It looked better in your hand and made for a more impressive gift. Okay, Wendy said, using every ounce of her strength to keep a straight face. Brianna kept pretending to bend down for supplies, hiding her face as she struggled not to burst out laughing. Only Luna felt differently. At first, she found it all amusing. But when she heard them tell Cole to get lost, a sharp pain shot through her heart. Tears pricked her eyes. She had heard that word directed at her more times than she could count, and she knew how much it stung. Cole must feel awful, she thought. The order was huge, nearly 40 drinks at full price. Luckily, Megan, the evening shift employee, had just arrived, freeing up someone to handle the other customers. It took them almost an hour to complete the massive $250 order. Naturally, the goddesses couldn't be expected to carry anything. Simon and the other guys each left laden with bags of drinks, faces plastered with triumphant smiles that hid the deep sorrow in their wallets. An hour and 5 minutes later, Cole sauntered back into the shop. A man had to keep his word, after all. He considered revealing he was the owner right then and there for the satisfaction of it, but that could backfire. They could claim he'd tricked them, call the cops, and accuse him of fraud. He had to wait until the transaction was complete. Once they took the goods, the deal was done. Wendy grinned. Boss, you are so bad. What are you talking about? I have a heart of gold. Wasn't I helping them boost their image in front of their goddesses? Cole corrected her piously. Brianna chimed in with a few words of praise, though she was thinking, he's ruthless. Those guys are going to die of regret when they gave all those drinks away. A drink for each of you on me. Pick whatever you want, Cole announced with a grand wave of his hand. I want a hazelnut latte. Winnie cheered immediately. After Brianna and Megan happily picked out expensive drinks for themselves, only Luna hesitated, unable to decide. Cole knew her too well. You're having a kiwi smoothie, he declared. The shop smoothies were made with real milk and supplemental ingredients like dates, not the watered-down stuff from other places. Kiwi was high in vitamin C, perfect for her. If he hadn't chosen for her, she would have picked the cheapest thing on the menu. But Luna still looked downcast, her unhappiness written all over her face. There was something she wanted to say to him, but the shop was getting busy again. She'd have to wait and tell him later. Cora and her friends went their separate ways, back to their respective campuses to distribute their spoils. Back at Eastwood University, Cora and Ryan handed out the coffees to her roommates and the president and vice president of the Student Government's Outreach Committee. As they sipped their drinks, they recounted the hilarious incident. Wait, the committee president, a junior named Jessica, said, her eyes suddenly strange. You said his name was Cole? Yeah, he's in my finance program, Cora said with a sigh. Not a great guy, honestly. Jessica's expression grew even more complex. She thought Cora had real potential for the committee, a possible successor, but now she could see the girl still had a lot to learn. As far as I know, Jessica said, her voice full of sympathy, the owner of that shop is named Cole. No student group was more familiar with local businesses than the Outreach Committee. They had visited the Tea Alchemist back in late September to get acquainted and had learned then that the owner was a freshman. They'd seen it as a good thing. A freshman would be much easier to work with than some jaded old business owner. Jessica hadn't planned on revealing the truth, but a member of her committee needed to be resilient. Besides, a part of her thought, Cole is the one we should have been recruiting for the committee. The room fell silent. An awkward tension began to fill the air. Cora's eyes glazed over. Cole? He owns the shop? So all that shouting and drama. It was an act? He wasn't just acting tough. He was acting like he was acting tough. Ryan's pupils visibly constricted, a clear signal of a heart in agony. Just moments ago, he'd been savoring the image of Cole miserably throwing away dozens of drinks. And now, he'd spent $50. Who in their right mind spends $50 on coffee for other people? A buzzing filled his head, accompanied by a phantom melody. Who is that singing a song that stabs my soul? He swirled the coffee in his cup, his face twitching. The hazelnut latte was suddenly, unbearably bitter. Cora's roommates and friends suddenly found fascinating things to look at in every corner of the room, their faces screaming, "Who's that over there?" They bit their tongues, painfully suppressing their laughter. It was one thing to laugh, but not while drinking the spoils of their con. They'd at least wait until they got back to their rooms. Suddenly, Ryan whipped out his phone. To hell with it. If he had to suffer, they were all going to suffer with him. The sky remained a dreary gray, but it did nothing to dampen the customers' enthusiasm. By the end of the day, not counting the $250 stunt, the shop had brought in over $700. Cole knew it was a temporary surge. Once fall break was over, sales would likely dip, maybe even down to $300 or $400 a day. But for now, he was raking it in. His main competitors were probably only selling about 100 cups a day. He was sure they'd try to copy some of his drinks. They probably had people in line right now, taking notes. But that didn't matter. Cole had a whole arsenal of future bestsellers up his sleeve. The Tea Alchemist would need a steady stream of promotions to keep stimulating sales, and he needed to open a second location as soon as possible. Lost in thought, he noticed Luna, who was counting the cash, kept glancing at him. "What's up?" he asked. And nothing. Luna had so much she wanted to say, but the words caught in her throat. Later, as they walked back toward campus, Cole could tell she was still wrestling with something. Under the dim streetlights, her lovely face was still clouded with worry. He smiled and gently ruffled her hair. "What are you thinking about? Tell me." Her hair was incredibly soft and smooth, a pleasure to touch. The affectionate gesture seemed to relax her instantly. She tilted her head to look at him. "I was really scared they were going to fight you today," she said in a small voice. She wanted to say, "I didn't want to hear them tell you to get lost," but that felt too embarrassing. "They wouldn't have," Cole said, his eyes softening. "Don't worry, I had it under control. They weren't going to start anything. Most people would have just enjoyed the drama, but she had been worried about him getting hurt. This girl was truly special." He couldn't resist ruffling her hair again. His hand lingered, then slid down to rest on her shoulder, his fingers toying with a silky strand. The warm touch on her shoulder made Luna tense up for a second before she relaxed into it. She glanced at the sharp line of his jaw, then quickly looked away, a blush creeping up her cheeks. This felt nice, safe, like she was in a protected zone where nothing could harm her. There was something else she wanted to say, but she just couldn't bring herself to voice it. The early October evening air had a chill to it. A gust of wind made her shiver and shrink into herself. The small movement didn't escape Cole's notice. He felt the material of her thin, summer-weight sleeve. Rockford didn't really have an autumn. The temperature swung wildly between day and night. He gently pulled her closer, his arm wrapped around her shoulders, hoping to share some of his warmth. She leaned into him willingly, and for a moment, they fit together perfectly. When he got back to the dorm, Preston and Javi were still recuperating from their recent financial trauma. They'd been lying in bed all day, their empty pockets forbidding any adventures. Cole found it curious. Wasn't Preston a rich kid? Couldn't he just ask for more money? When Cole asked, Preston mumbled that his mom had yelled at him and told him he deserved it, before burying his face in his pillow to sulk. Frank was lounging on his bed, feet up, engrossed in a web novel on his phone. It was called Billionaire Alpha's Urban Revenge, by an author named Vixen Fox. Cole had glanced at it before. It was full of trashy scenes, but Frank was eating it up, giggling stupidly while picking his nose. Every so often, he'd wipe his finger on the side of his bed frame, which was caked with several layers of a mysterious, dark brown substance. Cole always gave it a wide berth. "We should go out tomorrow, my dudes," Frank announced, flicking a finger. "It's boring sitting in here all the time." Cole's eyes narrowed. With his enhanced vision, he tracked a tiny black speck as it sailed through the air, landing perfectly in the dark hair on the back of Preston's head. Holy crap. In that moment, Cole was profoundly grateful his bed was in the opposite corner of the room. "Not going," Javi replied listlessly. Preston didn't move or make a sound. Cole obviously wasn't going either. Before showering, he had an important mission to complete. He opened his messages. "Serena, I'm in bed. Suddenly I really miss being on campus." A sly grin spread across Cole's face. He typed back, "I'm in bed too. Suddenly I really miss someone." "Serena, how much?" Smiling face with smiling eyes, Cole. "As much as she misses campus." "Serena, that much, huh?" Smiling face with smiling eyes. "Okay. I guess I can reward him with a hug when I get back." "Cole, can I get a kiss instead?" "Serena, ick. Smiling face with smiling eyes, Cole chuckled. And the two of them chatted until Serena was too sleepy to keep her eyes open. The next morning, just after 11, Julia showed up at the Tea Alchemist. She was alone. This time, she wore a small cardigan over her dress, her chest half concealed, half revealed. She ordered a milk tea and sat quietly at a round table. After a moment, as if feeling a bit warm, she took off the cardigan. The view was now even more prominent than the day before. Cole spared her a few glances, but quickly lost interest. It was all push-up and posture, a total illusion. Beside him, Luna's eyes were full of resentment again. Her fruit chopping slowed. She looked down at her own chest and bit her lip, her heart filled with a familiar turmoil. Just as Cole was coming out from behind the work area, planning to run to a nearby market for some cherry tomatoes, Julia spoke up. "We should exchange numbers." "Huh?" Cole froze, turning to her. He pointed at himself. "Are you talking to me?" "Who else?" Julia said, gathering her long hair to tie it back. The pose was deliberately provocative, putting her assets on full display. Cole laughed inwardly. Here we go again. He had only himself to blame for falling for it the first time. He'd always been a sucker for an impressive facade, only to learn it was a classic bait-and-switch. He thought he was getting a diamond and ended up with cubic zirconia. False advertising was a killer. Behind the counter, Luna stopped what she was doing, her small face tense as she watched Cole. Brianna rolled her eyes and secretly mouthed the word slut to Wendy. But this Cole was not the eager, loyal puppy of the past. He was cold too. Zero, a man of the world. He didn't even spare a glance at the counterfeit goods on display. "Oh man, sorry," he said, his face a mask of regret. "I don't have a phone number." "You don't?" Julia's hands stilled, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Do you hear yourself?" She seemed to be thinking. She forced a laugh, trying to maintain her composure, her eyes fixed on him. "Then just give me your digits." "Don't have those either. I just use other people's phones to make calls." He paused, his expression shifting from sincere apology to sudden realization in a fraction of a second. "Oh, you want to pre-order drinks, right?" He turned and called out cheerfully to the counter. "Luna Lou, can you give this lady your number for future orders?" "Huh." Luna stared blankly for a second before it clicked. "Oh, okay." A wave of warmth spread through her. The nickname, Luna Lou, made her heart flutter with a secret joy. Of course, the number exchange never happened. By the time Luna had earnestly pulled out her phone, Julia was already chuckling coldly. "Forget it. It's not important." She stood up, adjusted her cardigan, and walked out with her drink without another look at Cole, radiating an air of, "You had your chance, and you blew it." Once she turned the corner, the faint smile on her face vanished, replaced by a dark scowl. Her pride felt like it had been stomped into the ground. Anger burned in her chest. The nerve of him. What was so great about him anyway? So what if he opened a little tea shop? Compared to the amazing guys in her life, he was still a total loser. With that thought,